So today we're going to study Matthew chapter 18, as he mentioned, 18 to 25. The key verse is verse 19. Let's read the key verse together. Let's go. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. In today's key verse, three key words. Come, follow me. What is the purpose? I will send you out to fish for people. So these are the three key words in today's passage. Jesus served his public ministry a little more than 3 years, and during his public ministry, he did two main things: disciples ministry in the first passage, and secondly, he did serve preaching and healing ministry. The disciples ministry is God's way to spread the gospel and build up his kingdom. It's very important. Jesus did during his 3 years public ministry. And Jesus called his...
As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went through Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him.
Disciples, not in the middle or end of his ministry, but from the beginning of his ministry. So in today's passage, you can see that as soon as he started his public ministry, he called his disciples. And especially today, 4 disciples today. And out of these, and 3 top disciples. So 3 top disciples. Jesus clearly made a inner circle of his ministry. And then Peter was a top disciple. And then Peter, John, and James, 3 top disciples. And Jesus called today these 3 top disciples. And these 4 disciples, and including 3 top disciples, are all fishermen walking in the Sea of Galilee. So they are the fishermen, why then fishermen? We'll talk about the why fishermen called these top disciples out of fishermen. So we'll talk about that. They were basically hard-working, low-class people, but they were humble. And disciple meaning learning is from the word learning. So they are learners. So most important character of learners are what? Learning mind. They have to have a learning mind. Without learning mind, you cannot learn and you cannot grow. So that's the most important character and quality of disciples. So you know the Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Hannah doesn't know. Maybe she doesn't know about National Football League. Probably Diego. You don't know. You don't watch football. No. American football. American football is the most famous sports in America, in the United States. And then the star quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So then probably she doesn't know, and you don't know. So Aaron Rodgers is one of the best football players of all times. And it's also, he is known as a professing and practicing Christian. He's well known as a Christian. And he says, I love being coached. So that's probably how he become a famous quarterback and grow as a famous quarterback. And his team coach, head coach, his name is Mike McCarthy, added that Aaron is a really good student. He wants to be coached always. He wants to be coached. And he likes to be coached hard. So he loves learning and being coached. And that's how he grows. And he can become a great player. the disciple is the same. To grow as a great disciple, you need to have a learning mind. You need to learn. You need to love being coached, being trained, right? So that you can grow. But some people don't like being coached because they think it is somebody is controlling me. Somebody is trying to, make me to become something. But you have to be a good learner, and then you love learning and learning mind. That is, I think, one of the most important characters and qualities of being a disciple of Jesus. Let's look at the passage. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew, and they were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. So the Capernaum was beside the Sea of Galilee. Although they say the Sea of Galilee is a lake, big lake, but they call this Sea of Galilee. He saw two brothers, Simon and Andrew. They were brothers. And then Matthew mentioned that he called Peter, meaning that Simon means what? What's the meaning of Simon? Name Simon? It's very common, sand. It's a sand, meaning sand. And Peter means it's rock. It's later, Jesus said to Peter, Simon, your name, I will change your name as Peter. Why? Because you are a rock foundation of the church. So Matthew, the writer of this gospel, Matthew, here mentioned about called Peter, assuming in the future Jesus will make him as Peter. So he mentioned about his name, Peter, also here, the importance of Simon, indicating the importance of Simon, and his brother Andrew. So they were casting the net because they were fishermen. Then, as I said, why fishermen? So the fishermen at that time was hardworking. Why is hardworking? Because you have to fish sometimes at nighttime, sometimes daytime, and also it is important to maintain very well. So they have to wash the nets every day. If not, then it is because the net is a very important asset for them. If not washed and just put it somewhere aside, then what happened? It become rotten and cannot be used. So it was told that they had to wash the nets every day. After they fish, they have to wash the net. Remember in Luke's Gospel chapter 5 when Jesus asked Peter, he was doing what? He was washing the net and prepare the net for the next day. And Jesus said, go into the deep water, right? So when Jesus commanded him to go out into the water, deep water, what he was doing was preparing the net, washing the net, and then, there was, because of that, they have to walk day and night. Sometimes nighttime they have to go to work, fishing. And you can see that they are hardworking people. And their strenuous lifestyle. Nowadays, we have blue collar, white collar, right? And employees, they are divided in blue collar and white collar. So definitely fishermen is not white collar worker, but they are blue collar labor working people. And then they are not well educated, as you can imagine. However, they were fluent in language. Why? Because they have to sell the fish to the people. Merchants came to the Sea of Galilee. It's a famous fishing industry there. And from everywhere they come. The merchant came to buy fish. So they have to learn language. Yesterday was 2 days ago. So we went to Mount Montras. Montras is, I will show you some pictures. But Montras is a monastery. There are merchants, and they are selling honey, and then people and honey. One person is very well in Korean language, so he was selling the honey because a lot of people are Korean come to their place, and they have to learn Korean language, and he was speaking Korean very well. Why? They have to sell the merchants. The thing. So at that time, the history indicates that it seems like they were also fluent in certain language, because they have to sell fish to the merchants. So at least the Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic, they are fluent, so that they could sell. So around this, so But most importantly, because they are low-class people and they are humble, very humble people. And then you can see that the principle of God's election, why fishermen, you can see because of God's election principle. The 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27 and 29 says, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world so to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him, right? So that no one may boast before him. And also we can see that because of God chose humble people, like you think about Abraham and other people God chose, like David. David was the last son. And then we can see that we also can become fisher of men by His grace. We are also in the world, we are ordinary people, but God chooses ordinary people out of this world to become great people, to glorify His name. And also, interestingly, fisherman and fish is a symbol of early Christians. In 1st century and 2nd century, fish in Greek is a Greek word. Fish is ichitis. I don't know if it's pronounced correctly, but its name is Greek is in fish is ichitis. The symbol of this fish in 1st and 2nd century Christian made acrostic from this word, 4 words. Iseus Christos Theos Ios Soter means Iseus Christos means Jesus Christ. Theos means Theos Iseus means Son of God, and Soter means the Savior. So meaning that the Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. So fish. So when they meet, because at that time Roman persecution, right? They don't want to reveal their meeting place, so they use this sign as a meeting place. This sign, then they go to do and meet, right, in this place. Secret sign. And then when, at that time in early Christian history, under Roman oppression, when they meet together, some people meet together, it seems like Christian, then they on the ground, one person draw this, and another person draw this, and then they are Christians, and they become friends. So they use this symbol as Christians. So the fish, there's a early Christian history, there is a meaning. Some people criticize about this symbol because it's a pagan symbol used, but I think it is a history. The fish was used because out of at least 7 disciples, out of 12 apostles were actually fishermen. So they were all fishermen. You can see why Jesus chose a fisherman. And how did Jesus call them? In verse 19 through 22, Jesus commanded them, "Come, follow me. I will send you out to fish for people." And once they left their nets and followed him, going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee preparing the nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. You can see that these 2, brother Peter, Peter and Simon and Andrew, and James and John, Jesus called them, and immediately they left their boat and they followed him. And also here 2 other brothers. The Peter and Simon, Andrew, they left their nets and followed Jesus. You can see their decisive action. Another learning point is here, at once they left their net and followed him. Here, immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Meaning, not only immediate action to follow Jesus, but also their commitment and sacrifice. You can see they sacrificed their profession and followed Jesus. So this is very important. So probably how come they follow Jesus immediately? Because without knowing Jesus. But at least Peter and Andrew knew Jesus before this And Matthew didn't describe, but we studied John's Gospel. We are studying John's Gospel with, I'm studying John's Gospel with Diego nowadays. In John's Gospel, at least Andrew and then Simon were what? John the Baptist's disciples. So before they were called here, they met earlier. So then Jesus invited them to stay one night and then stay together, and then they found Jesus as the Messiah. And they knew, but there is no, in the Gospel, knew them earlier or not. We don't know exactly, but it seems like they may know about Jesus earlier, before this. Maybe through Peter and Simon and Andrew, maybe. But somehow they made a clear decision to follow Jesus, with the sacrificing their profession, even here family. You can see that their family too, their father. So you come and follow me. So follow, another translation says follow me. I mean, come after me. Instead of come and follow me, come after me. So you can see the come and follow, meaning that stay together. Jesus invited them to stay together and learn from Jesus. So this is very important. So not only learn knowledge from Jesus, but also learn his life by staying together. That is important. Together. That is important. So learning is not just the knowledge, but also Jesus' personality, character, and his life. Right? So that is important, Jesus' invitation. Then another things that you need to remember is also here, why then Jesus invited them? Jesus invited them to him. Why? Because he said clearly from the beginning, what is the purpose of this invitation? Why you need to learn from me? Why you need to stay and learn from me? That is because Jesus said, I will send you out to fish for people. So Jesus clearly indicate what is the purpose of this calling. The purpose of calling is send them out. Why we become Jesus' disciple? Why? So there's a question, right? So we have to remember that that's because we need to fish, right? So that's the purpose of discipleship. And then, meaning what is the meaning of fish for people? This is a rescue job, right? That is a sea, as in the Bible, sea of Galilee. Sea means what? Always the Bible indicates that it's a fallen world. Sea is the fallen world. And fish is what? Dying souls. Fish, dying souls in the fallen world. Out of the sea, you fish for people. So it's saving people from their destiny of death, right, and destruction. So that's the meaning of this calling. And then you have to remember why we meet here and then learn about Jesus and grow. Why we need to learn and grow, right, as disciples of Jesus. Because eventually we can go out to the world and fish for people and rescue dying souls. Do you have to keep that in mind, right? So from the beginning, as I said, Jesus made his purpose clear from the beginning. Why I'm calling you for this purpose. And then decisive action, as I said. So remember, this is very important. Why Jesus served the public ministry in the second paragraph. Second paragraph we are learning from today's passage is a crowd ministry. Jesus served crowd ministry, healing, and then preaching, right? But at the same time, Jesus was doing discipleship ministry. But this is a very important ministry because eventually this will build up his. We'll talk about that as in conclusion. So, and then eventually Jesus called the 12 disciples and made them as apostles, 12 apostles. So, Montreset, as I said, a monastery is a very beautiful mountain. There is a monastery, and then we saw this in monastery in our travel in Spain. This is a monastery in Montreset. There are 12, and Jesus at the center, and other 12 disciples here. And you can see that on the right side of Jesus. So I don't know if you can see well, but this the cross here upside down. The tradition says he was crucified upside down because he didn't want to die same way Jesus did. So he asked them to upside down the cross, and he died upside down, and he hold what? The key on the right hand. He's holding the key because Jesus gave him a key. So this is also we saw in another art museum. Do you know whose painting is this? It's Rembrandt. It's from Netherlands. Rembrandt. So master is called as a master of light. He's Rembrandt. This also painting is in Spain Prado Art Museum picture. So this is Peter. So maybe so Peter, although he was a fisherman, you think about it, how ordinary fisherman Peter became great disciple of Jesus and used by God preciously. He's an ordinary person, he will die and fishing every day, right? You think about it, fishing every day to make money every day and then suffer and then die without any name. But in this ordinary person, Peter became the top disciple of Jesus and changed the history, changed the entire history of human history. You think about this. God chose because Jesus chose him. That's only by grace. So God chose us. Jesus chose us in the same way. We are ordinary people. God chose us to change the history. Okay, 23, verse 23 and 24. What happened? And Jesus went throughout after this disciples ministry. Not only Jesus served the disciples ministry, as I said, Jesus also served public ministry, especially serving the crowds. So Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues. He went to why synagogues? Because it's a meeting place at that time, Jewish meeting place. You see a lot of Jewish culture also in Spain. A lot of Jews live there because avoiding from the persecution of Roman Empire. They went spread it out, right? Spread it all over the world. But Jewish people, diaspora, we learn about diaspora. The diaspora Jews went to Spain because Spain was considered as the end of the earth at that time. So Paul wanted to go to Rome. Why? Why he wanted to go to Rome? To preach the gospel at the time. At the same time, he believed that Rome is the way to the end of the earth. He wanted to go to Spain. Paul wanted to go even to Spain. Spain was considered as the end of the earth at the time. And then Jewish people migrate to Spain, and then they establish their own culture and establish their community. You can see those in Spain also. But anyway, and then synagogue was the place. Always where Jewish lives, where Jewish lived, there was a synagogue, because there's a meeting place. So synagogue is a meeting place of Jewish people. Jesus went there and teaching and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. And the NIV says proclaiming, but the King James Version and other versions say preaching the good news of the kingdom. And also healing every disease, sickness among the people. And many people came. Here you can see that Jesus did three main teaching, preaching, and healing. Teaching, preaching, and healing. And then many people came. So what is the difference between teaching and preaching? It's similar, right? It looks like it's similar, but there's a difference. Teaching and preaching is different. So one of the Dr. Sproul, I don't know you heard about his name. Praise no Dr. R.C. Sproul. He's a famous theologian and teacher, R.C. Sproul. He explained the difference between teaching and preaching. So there is teaching is indicative, whereas preaching is imperative. Indicative is what is information basically, but is imperative means what is supposed to happen after you learn something. So teaching, for example, if you teach without preaching, the result would be teaching. If you teach without preaching, what happened? So then people will say, so what? You learn a lot of information. You learn about a lot of information. Then if you don't preach, what happened? So what? What to do next? You don't know what to do next. So that is the problem, right? So let's say then on the other hand, if you preach without teaching, if you just preach without teaching, what happened? then you are pushing to something without knowledge. So do something, you give direction to people, do something, but they don't know why I have to do this. So that's why teaching and preaching has to be together, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So R.C. Sproul is also a theology professor. He said, for example, when he teaches in the class, he spends 2/3 of time in teaching. He teach 2 time, and remaining 1/3 he preach. Meaning that the first he give information in the Bible, okay, all the information, then preach. Preach means give them what to do next, practical implications, right? That's a teaching and preaching. And Jesus teach in the synagogue about the Bible, and then also what it is about good news of the kingdom and repent. So because of this information, you have to what? Repent and accept and believe this good news. Okay? So that's what he did to the public crowd. And also healing. Healing was also important ministry. Healing every disease and sickness among the people. So here you can see the people came to Jesus, various diseases, and those suffering severe pain, okay, and then demon-possessed, and having seizures, and paralyzed. All kinds of different people, Jesus healed them. So I think it's a demon possession is a spiritual disease also considered as. So demon-possessed people, and then seizure, and then paralyzed people. So this one was another important ministry. Why healing? Because it's a proof of his authority as a Son of God. He proclaimed, because the Bible, that's why Isaiah mentioned about the Messiah will come and do what? Healing. And then driving out demons. That was his authority, proof of his authority. And also, importantly, when people came to him with the diseases, you can see that Jesus had emotion was what? Although he knew that this is proclaiming his authority, but also Jesus had in mind about when Jesus saw them, what is the emotional feeling was compassion. He was merciful. He was compassion on these sick people, because this sickness was what? The result of Adam's fall. So after Adam's sin and fall, what happened? Sickness came, illness came to human beings. I think it's important. So this sickness is important suffering of fallen man. You can see that if somebody is sick in your family, you're not happy. So I think it is Hannah probably experienced that too. During this trip, we although very joyful, but also praise continually coughing. It's sometimes some ways it was difficult to enjoy, right? So it's because the sickness is an important suffering of a fallen man. About this suffering, Jesus did not ignore. Jesus did not ignore, because my mission is just raise up disciples and then die on the cross, and that's my mission. Not that's it, but Jesus had emotion and compassion on these people and help them and understanding their agony, right? And that's the compassion. So that's why he also did a healing ministry. We're going to talk about later in the gospel and Jesus why he healed more, but that's one of the important reasons why he formed this healing ministry. Okay, so then what was the result? And then large crowds from Galilee, okay, Decapolis is where? That was east side of Galilee, Sea of Galilee is the Decapolis. Many people are probably also Gentiles, but maybe mainly Jewish people scattered in Decapolis area came, and also Jerusalem and Judea, and region across the Jordan followed him. So across the Jordan followed him. Here it didn't mention about Samaria, right? You can see that Samaria was missing here, and Jesus served the Samaritan ministry later, but initially recognized the Jews scattered around Galilee and Judea area. You can see that they came, large crowd came and followed Jesus. Mainly, you can see that why large crowd followed Jesus. I think his main reason is because of his miracles and healing ministry. So they are probably because they came to Jesus because of practical benefits. But later, you can see these same crowds, large crowds, turn into the crowds of crucifying Jesus. This crowd crucified Jesus. You can see that they follow, although they came to Jesus for their benefits, but without personal relationship with Jesus through discipleship ministry, this relationship is very weak, right? Although they follow Jesus, this relationship is very weak. Eventually, they turn against Jesus. So it's very important. Discipleship ministry is very important because that is the core of Jesus' ministry. And this core inside the circle of Jesus Christ, that they build up the ministry and eventually became the church, first church. So this is a very important lesson we can learn here, right? Although we serve ministry, the compassion as a church, we can we help sick people or orphans, right? You serve orphans as a church, and then poor people. That's a part of the ministry of the church. But more importantly, for the spiritual purpose, you can see the core ministry has to be focused on discipleship ministry, because that is the building block of the church and maintain God's kingdom and establish God's ministry on earth. Okay? Points in today. Let's read the key verse one more time. Come follow me. Let's go. Come follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. Okay, so as I said, in today's passage, first part talks about the disciples' ministry, and second part is the crowds' ministry. Serve disciples at the same time the crowds. The two important ministry, but you have to remember what was Jesus' focus. In Matthew chapter 28 and 19 and 20, this is Jesus' great commission at the end of Matthew Gospel. Jesus said, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations and baptizing them, and then teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and I will surely be with you. So this is Jesus really want his disciples to make disciples and then teaching them to obey everything I commanded you, because this is very important command for we have to hold on to. So when we preach the gospel, we have to keep in mind that the disciples' ministry is the core of our ministry, that sustain our ministry and expand His kingdom, establish our mission. And Billy Graham, as you know, recently died. He passed away, and he estimated about 15% of all the people who confess to be. Although they confess, I'm a Christian, they confess to Christian, but only 15% of those people are truly born again. So he said at the end of his life, he said, that's why he served a large crowd ministry, right? But he realized the importance of one-on-one ministry, disciple-making ministry. So recently I heard the radio, the Redeemer Church, the famous pastor in New York, Presbyterian Redeemer Church, his name is Tim Keller. Tim Keller is probably, I don't know, Hannah knows Tim Keller. He's famous pastor. He was famous pastor, also written many books, good books, and then Jonathan loves him, and he used many good books in his student ministry, reading but he, I think, a good teacher. He also, in a radio program, he answering the question, he said he believed that the one-on-one ministry is the most important. So because the crowd and public preaching is also important, but that's remaining nothing. But he believed that the one-on-one ministry, one-on-one Bible teaching is why small group or one-on-one ministry is so important to raise up disciples of Jesus. So many church leaders believe that it is very important. And because that is not new, because that's what Jesus did. That's what Jesus did in his establishing his 12 disciples. 12 disciples, he first called 3 top disciples among fishermen. That was the beginning of his ministry, and then that made a core. That these people became the core ministry of Jesus Christ, and then eventually became first church. The disciple ministry through humble people, especially called humble people with a learning mind. These people, those are the three top disciples, especially fishermen. They were, lowly, humble people, but they had a learning mind to grow. So that's very important. So, and at the same time, learning mind, you have to have a learning mind to be a great disciple. And secondly, you need to have a commitment of decision, with a clear decision. So follow Jesus. I will make a decision to follow. Follow Jesus, no turning back. We have a song that is a gospel song, right? No turning back, no turning back, no turning back. So that's a decisive action with a learning mind is a key as a great disciple. So I pray that we may learn from today's passage, that we may grow as a great disciples, become great disciples of Jesus by learning mind and also disciple commitment. And definitely when we do that, Jesus will make. So here, the NIV version says, I will send you out to fish for the people, because I think it is NIV translation of people. I think it is a purpose of this calling. So that's why they said they translated as send you out to fish for people. But King James Version says what? King James Version, do you know the King James Version? English? I will make you fisher of men. More familiar. So I think his previous translation was fisher of men. I will make you fisher of men. That was the old version. So you can see that Jesus, I think the previous translation focused on Jesus' intention. This is a more purpose-driven translation. But the previous translation, like the King James Version, is Jesus' determination. I will make you fisher of men. Meaning that you just follow me and I will make you. What you need to do is just follow me and learn from me. Then I will make you. You don't need to do anything, but I will make you. So, which means that when we follow with the learning mind and decisive, the commitments, then what happened? Jesus will make us. He will make us great disciples. Okay, so let's pray that we trust Jesus and also commit to Jesus to follow, and He will lead us, great disciples of Jesus, and then He will use us for His kingdom work, for USF ministry and student ministry in Tampa and beyond.